Welcome to Classroom Management, a guide for new teachers. In the following slides, I will provide you with tips to help you in your new journey as an educator. Classroom management is one of the key things that can make an educator's classroom experience successful. Hi, I'm Janet Bracero. For 12 years, I taught at a K-6 level school in Illinois. Throughout those years, I've gained some classroom management tools that have contributed to the success of my classroom environment. And today I'm going to share some of the tips and tricks that made it seamless for my students and me to happily cohabitate in the same place. Are you ready for a fantastic first year of teaching? I believe that having a functional layout is the foundation for eliminating distractions. Before your class walks into your room, this should be the one thing that you should have ready, your classroom. Over the years, I learned that sometimes students will find distractions that will keep them from focusing on their tasks. For example, getting up to get tissue, sharpening their pencils, talking to friends, and so on. By creating a strategic layout in my classroom, I was able to minimize their distractions and help them focus on their tasks. So here are some things that I found useful in minimizing interruptions. Here is a rough example of a classroom layout. As you can see, I placed the laptops and supply bins at the front of the room. This will allow time for the laptops to charge. It's organized and within my reach. You can see that I placed a rug in front near my desk. This will vary depending on the grade that you teach. The cleanest is in 4 points in the room. Their desks have a utensil basket for dry erase markers, dry erase boards, work charts, manipulatives, pencils, and pens. Before I put the baskets, I had to constantly deal with my students opening and closing their desks. You wouldn't believe how many times in the day I would hear the screeching sound of their desks opening and closing. I put a small group table in the back for a little more privacy as well as the sharpener. I also suggest putting anchor charts in the back as well as bookcases for a quiet reading space. Now, it's your turn to try to create your classroom layout. You can choose online clip art or a layout of your own, choosing to create your own space. Okay, so now that we've organized our classroom, we have to think about what the students need to know on the first day that will help them establish routines and understand rules for the rest of the year. The first thing you should always do is welcome them, make them comfortable by smiling and giving them a moment to settle down. I always let my students choose their seats as a token of trust. However, I also informed them that letting them sit with their friends was a privilege. If they began to show negative behavior, I'd have to move them. This was 100% effective. It did encourage most of my students to check their behavior. To keep things fresh, I suggest rearranging seats every quarter, but also give the students who have shown positive behavior first dibs on their choices. This encourages the others to express positive behavior too. Once the students have taken a seat and put away their things, play a get to know you game. I suggest doing this before you give them a tour of their classroom. I provided several get to know you games on the 10th slide to get you started. Before you begin your game, consider who your audience is. If they are shy, use a game that can use verbal and nonverbal language. Give them a choice to write their responses as well as say them out loud. This will make the shy kids feel included. Here are some effective activities I used in the past. They are quick and easy as well as fun. I have you have. Give each student a puzzle piece where they fill in facts about themselves and connect the pieces with the other students once they completed it. Would you rather game? Students can choose what they prefer. There are some extremely fun movement games online that the students can enjoy. Students can fill out a fun social media snap and selfie containing information about them and put them on a slide that you can all view together as a class. Who likes inventory? The students find a friend who fits one of the descriptions in their sheet and have them sign it until everyone has signed their sheet. You can do a quick share out at the end. These are just a few activities that I've used throughout my teaching career that my students enjoy. What activity do you know that might be fun for your students to use in the beginning of the year? You can list your own icebreaker ideas on this sheet to help you organize your thoughts. Once your introductions have been made, you can begin your tour. As you walk throughout the room, explain your expectations. For example, how they should treat the books or supplies they borrow. When will they be allowed to sharpen their pencils, and where will they find supplies if they run out? Explain why they have to charge their laptops in the section assigned every morning and why supplies are placed in specific bins. Make sure you clearly state what they are allowed to use and what is off limits. Explain why some things are off limits. Most students will follow your ethics when given a reason. Rules are important in every aspect of society. Without rules, there is disorder. However, by allowing your students to discuss and list the rules, you are giving them the autonomy to understand right from wrong. Break students into groups of 4 or 5, give them an anchor chart sheet, and have them list their top 5. Once they have listed them, hang their charts across the room and have them do a gallery walk. As they walk, have them rate each other's rules on a scale from most important to least, 5 being most and 1 least. You can give them sticky notes to write a number and place their rating on each anchor chart. Once they have done that, you will create one main poster based on what they choose. You can discuss each one and write it down for them until you have 5 important rules they feel they need to follow in class. I suggest putting the poster somewhere they can all see it and revisit the poster to reiterate the rules throughout the year. Remember, these are their rules and they've made themselves accountable for their own behavior. I've always found that by giving them the chance to create the rules, you've also given them equal ownership of what occurs in the classroom. Now that you have the rules, you need to establish routines that will grow stronger as the year progresses. Make them accountable for the expectations set in school. This will give your students a sense of control. All you have to do as the teacher is consider what is important to your students and to the overall classroom environment. Here are some of the routines that have been effective in my classroom. Hand gestures to minimize disruptions. If you're in the middle of a lesson and a student needs to use the restroom or tissue, you can teach them a hand signal to minimize disruption. Reiterate the importance of waiting until a lesson is over to ask for something, or to even leave their seats unless it is for an emergency. Provide total participation techniques that allow mobility and discourse. For example, discussion groups, jigsaws, 4 corners, and gallery walks. Definitions for these options are posted on the presentation link. Now it's your turn to create a list of routines you'd like to see in your class. Think about what you think is important. Here are a few signals you can use in your classroom to get them to focus on you. As educators, we know that being abrupt with students or yelling for their attention is not effective. However, there are ways you can effectively re-engage their focus back to the discussion or transitions. Tips: hold your palm up as a high 5 position. Count backwards. 1, 2, 3, eyes on me. You can ring a bell, clap your hands in a catchy way. Those are just a few tips that I suggest. Setting expectations is important in creating a safe classroom environment. Every day, we want students to feel that they're going into a safe environment where they are valued by the teacher and their classrooms. To do that, you have to establish a culture of empathy. You can start by explaining that bullying is not allowed or tolerated in your class. The students can discuss ways they can problem solve issues and how they can keep harmony in class throughout the school. Have them create a contract with expectations and sign it. Like they did with the rules, they will take ownership of what they've created. Remember that when students have a stake in something, they tend to care more for it. Here are my top 3 rules for maintaining consistency in how students should choose kindness. Change groups and assign tasks evenly. By rotating groups, you get the opportunity to let the students to get to know each other and have different points of views. SEO, social emotional learning, is a methodology that helps students of all ages to better comprehend their emotions, feel those emotions fully, and demonstrate empathy for others. You can give them the opportunity to discuss scenarios where they might have conflict and have them plan how they will handle the conflict in a positive manner. Reiterate the importance of being kind and thank students when you assert moments of kindness. Remember, they take cue from you. I provided a sample poster you can use in your classroom after you and your students establish some rules. I chose 4 as a minimum. I wouldn't choose more than 4 simply because you don't want to confuse the situation and you want them to know that there are some things that are extremely important. However, it's up to you how many you want to do. Students need to feel useful and needed. They also need to understand that their classroom is theirs, not just yours for the school year, okay? Make sure they understand it is their classroom. It is our classroom. It is not my classroom. By assigning classroom jobs, give them an equal stake of the classroom. Once again, this is about student buy-in. If they have to care for the room's contents, they are more likely to care for it. I provided a few suggestions that have been successful in my classroom. A job that I created that is not in this list is a classroom cashier. Using fake money, I give students points in money form. For example, a quarter for a point, $1 is 4 points, and so on. This encourages students to learn about money without it being an actual lesson. The students love it and they can use it to buy classroom rewards. I set monetary value to any rewards I give, which would motivate my students to earn points. You can offer various rewards and explain how points are earned. It could be based on positive behavior, kindness, hard work, preparedness, work turned in, etc. As I said, the students love having the money. It gave them a physical manifestation of what they've accomplished. If you don't have fake money, you can go to teacherspayteachers.com and buy templates, create your own, or buy some at Amazon or the dollar store. Trust me, it will be fun. Rewards are important to living beings. There are many ways you can reward your students' behavior. Work ethic and participation. Please note, participation does not have to be verbal. It can be group participation or through other means. Here are some of the most popular rewards I provided in my classroom. 20-minute computer time. Sit with a friend. Board game Friday. Read a book. Draw a picture. Watch a fun movie. You can add and subtract any of the suggestions provided. These are simple examples of what they worked in my room. On this slide, you can create your own ideas on how you reward your students. Well, now we come to the end of your classroom management guide. Like anything else, not all classrooms are created equal, and you may have to tweak some things. However, I truly hope that you consider this a good starting point for your classroom management journey. Thank you for listening and reviewing, and have a wonderful school year. This is Janet Bracero, classroom teacher and learning designer. Adios.